God,
indivisible, with liberty and justice
for all. Thank you. Arlene, can you do the roll call, please?
Sure. John Aldred.
Here.
Francis Bach.
Here.
Ben Dollinger. Rick Drew.
Here.
Tim Garneau.
Here.
Jim Grimes. Mike Mortensen. Susan McGraw-Keeber.
Here.
Bill Taylor.
Here.
Okay, thank you.
Your voice is off, Francis. Hi, Francis.
Hi, sorry. Okay. All right, so we'll move on to public comment. I was expecting John Ryan Jr. He was going to give us a report on how the opening of the beaches has been going. So I guess when he shows up, we'll let him join. So let's, Lauren, would you like to?
Yes, thank you. I'm really just sending out a thank you to all the trustees for their extraordinary efforts in getting the new berm and fence constructed over at Maidstone Beach, what is also known as Trustee Beach, aka Baby Beach. I am hoping that it will redirect truck traffic to park closer to the mouth of the harbor and not circle around to where the kids are playing. But it's so much better than it was before. It's a great step in the right direction. And every time I have gone down there, the families with small children have thanked me for, not thanked me, but said, thank you to you for making this happen. The only thing I would suggest, if possible, is that there is not really a pedestrian path. There is. It's kind of a rough path on one side of the fence going down to the beach, but that, if possible, could be looked at and widened so that there is easier pedestrian access to that beach. But I thank you. It's been a real problem for so long, and you guys did a great job.
Well,
thank you.
Yeah.
Well, the real thanks should go to Jim Grimes, who
yes,
engineered that entire project. So
yes.
It's lovely that you called in to thank the trustees. Thank you.
Yes.
Well, it's been near and dear to my heart for so long, and I've had as chair of the Springs Citizens Advisory Committee, I've had people talking to me about that area for years and years. And I hope that the general public respects that fence and doesn't do a U-ey and go on. But people are people. What are we going to do? But thank you for doing everything that you could do to make that happen.
Well, thank you, Lauren. That's much appreciated.
I might be signing off now.
Okay.
I've done my boogie. I'm out of here.
All right.
Thank you.
Zachary Cohen. Would you like to? Zachary, you're muted.
Yeah. Okay. Sure. I'll tell you a little something now, which is because some of you, there's Jim. He'll know. A few people will know. The Nature Preserve Committee has always liked working with the trustees. And when you go back, so I got some phone calls about the new kayak racks, which I did go out and they look unlike the other kayak racks that might be partly on town land, we don't know, and certainly a lot on trustee land. In the past, the trustees have always liked working with the Nature Reserve Committee on designing places to put kayaks. And I've gotten a few comments that people aren't super happy with where the current kayaks are. I wasn't that bothered. I was slightly, but I would be very happy if you decide you need to make a change, if you want to bring it to the Nature Preserve Committee to discuss. We do have some expertise. We have trustees who belong. And if you, last thing I'll say is you might remember, most of you haven't been around quite long enough, but some have. I think it was 2005 when I basically wrote with two other people the Nature Preserve management plan and reviewed all these things. So, there's a lot of experience, and I appreciate that you do things. Would love it if we could work together on things.
Hey, Zach, this is Jim, and I appreciate you weighing in on this. But you know what when we received, there was a letter in the Star this past week regarding the kayak racks, that we received a 4-page petition regarding the kayak racks. But clearly, what has kind of come out of this dialogue is, yes, there's some people that may have issues with the locations of the kayak racks, but it also shined a light on the misuse of the area down there, and that the people seem to feel that inlet is a place to swim. We've already had several complaints from members of the boating community regarding the safety of the inlet area down there. And what I would like to ask anybody that's listening in here tonight, at our first meeting in July, we'd like to have some forum related to these kayak racks, related to the use of the areas down there by Louse Point. So Zach, if you've got some thoughts, some comments, I'm hoping we can get you back for our first meeting in July.
Well, you are completely correct about the law and the former, we'll call them regulations. However, what I have learned from some cases of property I was involved with in 2003, 2004, 2005, after a certain number of years, it may be worthwhile looking at like the very fat management plan and say, should there be changes or not? And it's a difficult area for me. If I spend hours writing something in one way, coming to it 10 years or 15 years later and say, oh, I got to change this, is a little bit difficult. But I think maybe we should look at the whole property and,
Zach,
say something.
If we could save this discussion, because for our first meeting in July, primarily because I'd like to be able to hear, and I think our board would like to hear from all sides on this. This becomes a very one-sided argument, and I don't want to have this to be something that is totally reactionary in how it's kind of crafted here tonight.
I agree with you. I mean, don't worry. There's no.
I know I'm not going to have any trouble getting you to come back in July.
Hey, Zach, this is Rick.
Yeah.
Does the Grace Estate fall under the purview of the Nature Preserve Committee?
Yes.
Yes, but what happened there? Right now it does. Originally, it had its. It's a different part of the town board, and there's one other place or two other places. They're a different part of the town board. They formed a committee for the Grace Estate. That committee has, without formal unforming, hasn't met in at least as long as I've been in the Nature Preserve Committee, so that's getting close to 20 years. So the decisions on it have been made since I've been on the committee, which is 2002, they've been made by the committee. And it could probably use a review too, because the papers on it go back to way before me, probably in the 1990s, somewhere. And what I guess I'm bringing out is it's great to have active people now in the trustees, but it could be that even though we're buying lots and lots of new property, you know, it's probably going to be time to look at the large, major, old properties and say, does this need a change? Does it not need a change?
Yeah, that would be great. You know, there are some issues down there with litter and misuse of the property, four-wheeling, et cetera. I have spoken with Rick Whalen about it, and I was wondering if maybe you and I and Rick could possibly get together sometime on a call and discuss some synergy. The road access is an issue. I think there are a couple of trustee roads that run through the property, and they seem to be being used to, you know, create big bonfires. They're being left burning, and there's new four-wheel trails being cut through the property where they shouldn't be. So, you know, one thought was to maybe limit access through those main roads. But the roads topic's coming up later in the meeting, and we really need to talk longer than the meeting affords. So I'm hopeful we could talk in the near future.
Well, just kind of to sign this towards the end, because I'd like to hear Steve, and then I want to go eat my dinner, is that what I said to Francis before it became everybody showing up is I won't say how much the trustees in the town have always enjoyed talking to each other, going all the way back to my 2002. That would not say that's always been two groups who have loved working with each other. But I will say that all the time, the Nature Preserve Committee and the trustees, that no matter who's running the town board, that we've always enjoyed working together. And if we can help, you know, I love that idea. So, you know, and we meet pretty seriously. So that's what I would say. And if, you know, if you want to come to, or, you know, ask us, what's your view, or can you help? I'm fairly sure we would say yes.
Okay, sounds good. I'll reach out later this week. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you, everyone.
Zach, before you go, if you are going, I have a question for you. This morning, we were out on the harbor, Accabonac Harbor, and Edwina and myself are on a team together for the mosquito larvae water sampling. And there is a swath of pathway that has been mowed down. And Edwina seems to feel that that's part of the Filippi property. It goes all the way around, and so that it's a walkway, and it seems to start where the preserve is. So I was wondering if you knew about it, or if you knew who actually mowed the lawn down, because they're discarding the clippings onto the marsh. But it's a nice big long walk, and we thought maybe it was for
no
trips.
I investigated this. Was it not last year? Be 2 years ago, and remember that I gave a visit given by the Nature Preserve Committee and me as one of the leaders to 3 properties. I think you were there.
I went on that, yes.
That's right.
There was no pathway then. This is the first year.
Yes, there was. It
Not
may be
like
bigger
this.
now. It may be bigger now.
Okay.
But I found, and it may be moved, but I found one a couple of years ago. And that one, when I looked into it, because I was worried just like you, when I looked into it a couple of years ago, it was on a private property near. So I need to go. I'm happy to go back. It's across the street from me. I'm happy to go back to see, did they mow it slightly more to the north from where it was before, and go up there, because somebody
runs along the border of the tree line. It runs all around the circumference, right up against the trees.
I'll go back and take a look, because there has been somebody who, you can't say for sure lived there or not, but we were fairly sure it was one of the people who had a house nearby who had been mowing so you could get down closer to the water. I'm happy to go by, and I appreciate you saying that.
Zach, would you like me to come and meet you, and we'll walk the property? I'll show you exactly where it is, because this is a definite pathway. It's out on the marsh, right up against the trees and the brush. And it looks as though it was created so that someone could walk the property. Is there a house for sale nearby? Maybe they thought that was an attractive way to show the house, but I'm happy to meet with you and take you to this area with Edwina.
Well, why don't I just go first myself?
Okay.
And then if I'm not finding it, are you saying that it's not necessarily running west to east to carry people down to the water? It's more north to south along?
It's hugging the border. It's not taking anybody down to the water.
Right. Well, one of the problems there is a tough question of the town, and the trustees know about this. A lot of the trustees own land. The town owns land, but Nature
Conservancy?
Yeah, they own a lot of land, and they are not necessarily as activists because they're not like you have people going down there, and the town has people going down there, and nature preserve sometimes. The Nature Conservancy may not be going down, except further south, down to Merrill, where I see them down there. That's a question, and it may not be on property or debatable property, and that's always been one of the questions there. Who owns some of that property? Where does the town own property and the trustee property begins, or where does the town own property and the Nature Conservancy begin? So that's where it gets a little bit tricky. But I'm happy, to go down there.
Okay. I actually have a picture of it that I was going to show this evening later on when we talk. And it's a picture that I have. I can send it to you by email.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay, I'll do that.
Yeah, that'd be great.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you very much. No, thank you. Are you kidding? Thank you.
Thank you, Zach. All right. You have a great evening.
No. I got to stay for a little bit.
Okay. All right. I don't think we have anyone else waiting to speak with us. So let's move on to Steve Horner, who's going to update his report on trustee holdings in the northwest section of East Hampton. Steve?
I sent you guys a updated preliminary report, working draft, and I've been working on from the very beginning, 1649 through mostly 1800s. I was working concurrently more present time and from the beginning, but since March, I haven't been able to do any on-site visits to Suffolk County. Since the fall, I've been trying to get my hands on the mapping and information of the Suffolk County takings of the wetlands up there. But we have a good foundation now for a pretty wide area, pretty much a little northwest to Hans Creek, predominantly closer to the water, probably 1,500 or more conveyances. So once I'm able to get more recent stuff, it'll be easy to bridge them, and we should have a pretty accurate chain of title for pretty good swath along the shoreline.
Hey, Steve, was there any commonality of these allotments that went to, leaving certain areas common, like the waters?
Definitely, and that's what I always suspected. And in the tables that I put in the report, what I did was Rick Whalen and I meeting by phone and email every month or so the whole time, and discussing and sharing our information. And I've been integrating his work, particularly with the early divisions and the original allotments. And I've added a lot of individual deeds to this, plus what's in the town record. So the thing, and you'll see it because I note them in bold and italicize in the columns with the where these lands or conveyances are bounded by, there's nothing. There's not a single private conveyance that includes saltwater. Everything's bounded by the creek, by the bay, by the harbor, so forth. There's nothing, for instance, that says, out to the center line of such and such creek and so forth. Also, on the north side, anything with a wide beach, it's bounded by the beach or the cliff.
Okay, thank you.
The one thing that seems apparent is that Alewife Brook and Pond were included in private conveyances early on. So again, once I'm able to get back and do research on site, be able to find more modern stuff and bridge it back to what I have up to the 1800s.
Steve, when you say Alewife Brook was included in conveyance, is that from trustees?
It was included, it's cited in a conveyance that the conveyance is bisected by it. And one of them includes a pond. So otherwise they'll say, up to or adjoining, so forth. So that's all we've seen so far. But nothing other than that, no salt water included in any of these conveyances.
So that's a conveyance from a private party to another private party?
Yeah, same thing. That's where a lot of, after the earliest divisions up there started in 1653, pretty early, and meadows predominantly, salt marsh, and just all the same as I said. But then later, of course, these people passed it down to their family members, or they sold it and so forth. But those the boundaries are consistent going forward.
So were the salt marshes part of the allotments? You had said
Correct.
They were pretty valuable back in the day. Were they then parsed up like firewood parcels so that these earliest members of the community had these resources?
Right, the proprietors. Somebody would get, say John Bishop would get lot 5, and then he may pass it down to his 2 sons. So say it was a 50-acre lot, and now it's divided 25 apiece, and so forth. It's not until the 1800s you see that system kind of disappear, and they don't provide the lot number. But I broke it up with meadows and woodlots. Now, you'll also see in the table with the boundaries, because that's really a big focus to determine who owns what. You'll see things like bounded by the woods, bounded by the common, bounded by the swamp. And those two were, there was undivided land. So they had not laid that out yet for the proprietors. So it was, owned in entirety, joint tenancy by the town. But it's a clear distinction. To me, it's really no different than by the harbor, by the bay, by the beach, the swamp, the woods, until it was, created into woodland parcels, is all the same. So they're very specific.
Would that swamp be the sidelines of Northwest Creek, Little Northwest Creek, and Barnes Meadow? Is that what they're referring to?
Yeah.
Okay. And what was the primary use of that area? Was that for salt hay?
Salt, yeah, the salt marshes, and although there's some pretty big, they gave out big allotments there, but you'll see in the divisions, lay it out chronologically, keep it easier and kind of spell out the narrative. You'll see different sizes and the boundary. So you'll see I have a table of contents, what I sent you. Divisions, individual allotments, by type, by locality, where, if it's stated or where we can ascertain. There are some still that are vague, just as Northwest. So it's like a jigsaw puzzle. I'll be able to pretty easily plot them now. And that's the other thing. As I do this, I'm working on a working map of the whole area of all this. So that'll be the final product of it.
Steve, when they parsed out this land originally to individuals who are used, sole pay, or whatever they were using these parcels for, was this basically, for lack of a better way of putting it, was this like selling them the land, or was this just allowing them to use that common land for a period of time for a purpose? And then the intention would be to keep it as common land, but in other words, is it a sale or a lease?
Once it became private, the use may have changed at some point, but it's like the best way to think of it as a jigsaw puzzle. So when it was purchased from the Native Americans, it's one big blank puzzle. And then once they started creating different divisions like town plot, that's one big piece of a puzzle with smaller pieces. And now that's private. And now you've got undivided land. Think of it almost like a reserve. And yet you had places that were common to all roads and beaches, particularly, because they were passing highways as well. So little by little, sections started to get taken up. So jigsaw puzzle starts to fill up. And it had specific uses, wood lots, like someone said, cutting firewood, the salt marshes. But of course, as time went on, the uses changed, and then it became more just leisure. So in the 20th century, starting late 1880s through the 20th century, you have wealthy people buying them. They didn't make a distinction. They wanted large property. So you're combining woodlots with salt marsh. And that's what we'll carefully be looking at, the more recent deeds to match those up, to see the descriptions, to see the boundaries. But our foundation for what we're trying to accomplish is very sound. I mean, it carefully went through literally very beginning from 1649, and the first mention of anything is 1653. So going through it very carefully, making sure we're not missing anything. Very happy with it.
It's quite extensive, and I'm just looking at it now, Steve. It's very interesting because it does transfer to family members, conveyed to, so it does become, they do begin to own the property outright then. But you've done an amazing job on putting this together. It's
Work hard.
wonderful information, and it does take, the graphics of it are very easy to understand, and I'm really very excited about learning more.
Good, thank you. Because that's really, I tried to strip it down to, for us, not to be overwhelmed looking at all that data. And then if just something of particular interest, we just refer back to the citation and we can expand on it. But thanks for saying that, because really spent a lot of time fine tuning it to say, all right, how do we quickly process such a huge amount of conveyances easily? So we're getting there.
No, terrific job. Thank you.
Thanks. Sorry, it's taking a long time. Hopefully I'll be able to get back and finish the more recent research.
Hey, Steve, when you send us some other stuff, could you please try and send it not at 20 after 5 the night of the meeting?
Yeah.
Great to be able to look at this stuff for a while before you're talking about it.
Yeah, I just kept working right up till 5 on it. You guys can email me or call me if you have any questions until next time we speak on it. But there's going to be a lot more added to the next one. So,
Francis, can I ask Steve a question? It's Zachary. Can I ask him a question
Sure.
now? Okay. Steve, you know, and I've had the almost call it luxury to work with you on some of these things in the past. One of the things I was curious about was, you know, there was one famous legal case between what the town thought it had written, or maybe the trustees were also involved in what they'd written, and then what the private owner thought. I think it was Salt Marsh issue or something, and it went on and on and on and high up. And so one of the questions I had is have there been a number of those and is there a need to look at the legal wording of these early ownership rights and things like that? Can they be interpreted by 21st century, or do we need to go back and look at these things based on how courts were looking at them back then, and that their meaning might not be immediately to us the same as the meaning was in the 17th century, in the 18th century, et cetera? Is that an issue that needs to be looked at?
I hope not. Worked hard to simplify it. For instance, I'm very comfortable translating these things. I know something if it's properties owned in joint tenancy, or if it's what the use is and so forth. But the descriptions, the boundaries, I try to lay it out in a clockwise fashion so people in their mind reading it can draw a conclusion, and I make it consistent that way. So and then of course, like I said, ultimately plot it on a map, and then of course that's a very effective way, in conjunction with a report on it. But trying to keep it concise, because it's just so many conveyances to include.
Excuse me, I need to interrupt. You have 2 callers on the line.
Thank you, Matt.
Steve, do you want to hang on in case there are questions for you?
Sure.
All right. Matt, can we have call on number 1?
Yes, you can. Give me 1 second, please. Caller, you are live.
Hello, please introduce yourself. Hello.
Hello? Caller, you are live.
Hello.
Caller, you are live.
All right, next.
Are we dropping this, going to another one, Francis?
Yeah. Yes, please.
Okay, caller, you are live.
Hello. Caller. Hello.
I think it's the same one that just tried to call. I'm getting a caller and I'm not getting a caller. I don't know if this is a butt dial or not.
I think it might be.
Caller, you are live.
Okay, let's.
Sounds like
move
washing
on.
dishes. Are we? We're gonna cut this person, Francis.
Please do. Thank you.
Okay, you
All right,
are.
does anyone else have questions for Steve? Board?
No, thank you, Steve.
Thank you, guys. Like I said, look it over and email me, call me. Happy to discuss it.
Thank you. And happy birthday to you and have a great trip.
Thank you. Thanks.
Excuse me, I have to
Anybody want
say, excuse me, trustees. Francis, this person keeps calling.
Okay,
Would you like to try again?
one more time.
Okay, please stand by. Caller, you are live.
Hello.
Hello, please introduce yourself.
Hello.
Hello?
Yes. Is there a reason the video isn't working?
Matt?
You will not have video on a conference call.
There's no video coming through on LTV. Only audio if I dial the dial-in number.
That would be correct because you're on a phone. You're not on a video source.
Are you gone?
You have
Are
a
you
question?
asking if it's on the TV?
Right. There is no video on LTV. I'm only listening to you because I dialed the dial-in number.
That's correct.
So I got your audio on my telephone, but there's no video and audio on the TV, on my computer.
Okay, when you call on your phone, you're not going to have a video.
And it's not just us, it's not my computer.
That's not what he's
Everybody
saying.
seems to be having the same problem. There's no audio or video coming out
No
of
broadcast
LTV.
on the computer line.
Right.
Go check something.
Do you have a question?
No,
I think
I
he's just
don't have a
reporting the
question.
problem.
I just wanted to make everybody aware of the fact that there's no video or audio coming through on LTV to watch the meeting.
Okay, if I may ask, are you talking about channel 22 or are you talking about the YouTube channel?
Vincent, did you hear that?
Sir?
I can hear you. Yes, I can hear you, but
No,
when
what I'm asking, sir, I'm
the
sorry.
LTV website, and I'm not the only one because I've just checked with a couple of other people. There is no video, there is no audio on the website. The reason I'm listening to you right now is because I dialed your dial-in number that's always on your screen if you have some sort of question.
Turn the
So
sound down now.
with my telephone now, I'm actually listening to your audio, but it cuts in and out.
Okay, so is the issue...
I don't know if you've heard everything I said.
Is the issue on the... Because I can see it right now on the feed. Is the issue through your computer? You're saying the LTV website, is that the YouTube channel?
Matt, I just turned on our television and it is actually on. I'm watching the program to the left. So if he's on television,
Susan, I can also see channel 22 right now in the studio.
Are you talking to me? I'm not too sure I understand what you're saying.
What, sir? What I'm asking is, you say that you hear the audio, which is great. The video feed that you're referring to, is that through the LTV server, the live broadcast? Are you talking about through YouTube?
Matt, I just went on to the website and watch live stream comes up to a black screen. think that's what it
Okay. Unfortunately, sir, I'm not sure what you're referring to. I know that I checked the YouTube site before the meeting start, actually during the meeting, and I saw the meeting live.
Yeah, someone else just reported the video on the LTV website is not working. The YouTube link is working. That's an independent report.
So it's
Yeah, Barbara's watching on her iPad. That's all I know.
all right. So you're saying it's on channel. I'm not sure if I understand this because I can see you on channel 22.
He just said the LTV website is not streaming. That's all. It's not working.
Right.
Okay, I might have to refer to our tech person on that. See what I can come up with.
Yeah, let's move on.
I'm sorry about that.
The video is not that great.
Okay, let's keep going. I'll get a hold of the tech guy.
All right, Chris.
Thanks, Matt.
Chris. Steve, thank you very much. Appreciate the work you're doing.
Thank you. Do you want me to stay on?
That's up to you. You're welcome to. All right, let's move on to new business. Lazy Point, Napeag, a request from the leaseholder of 204 Shore Road in Lazy Point, lots number 24N and 25N, tax map number 300-85-1-7.1 to transfer his lease to a new leaseholder.
Chris, you've reviewed the documents here. Is this all in order?
Jim, I reviewed the documents and had a good conversation with Stephen Grimaldi on this one. The documents as they exist are in order, but we are going to need to wait for the 3-week publishing period in the East Hampton Star. Once that 3-week publishing has occurred, they'll send us notice that it's been published, at which point we can move forward with acting on this one. But as the rules read right now, we really need to wait out that publishing period. And the reason for that is to obviously give the public the opportunity to respond in the event there's some issues that the public might want to discuss regarding the transfer. So everything looks good, but we got to hold off.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion to table this till our second meeting in July.
I will second that.
Favor?
Aye. Aye.
Okay, I think some of you are muted, but I'll assume you said aye. All right, so we will table this until the meeting on July 13th.
Hey, just
The second meeting in July, Francis.
Oh, second meeting, okay.
That
That would be what, 28th?
Apparently it's not.
27th.
Can I butt in? Does Vince and them know they have to go to YouTube, not ltv.org, and go to YouTube and search LTV on YouTube in order to watch it? Because I think they're interested in watching our scalp discussion. I hate for them to miss it.
I can't answer for
Try to
Vince.
get him a message, Arlene.
Yeah, Jason, I guess we're having a problem. Whoops, I'm live here.
I can hear you.
Okay, can we move on?
Yes.
Maybe we'll do
Nice.
kayak racks first.
Let's go.
All right. On the kayak racks, some of you may know we received a 4-page petition from some of the actual kayak users, complaint being that they felt that there was too many kayaks down at Louse Point. I did speak to the woman that had organized the petition. We had a brief discussion. What I told her I would do is I think this is a discussion that really should be inclusive of anybody has any feelings related to the kayak racks. So I had asked if we could possibly, I'll mention it tonight, and anybody that wants to call in to our July, 13th meeting, Francis, is that our
Yes,
next meeting?
13th.
Anybody that wants to
Yes.
call in, please call in on July 13th. I'd like to have a discussion about this because it not only does it clearly what came out of the conversation, not only does it include the kayak racks, it also includes some of the current use or the perceived uses down there. It seems that we're developing a bathing beach on the inlet side, which we've already been contacted by some of the baymen that has been problematic with people swimming in the inlet. As we all know, that inlet is severely shoaled in. There is hardly any channel in there. And I can't conceive how anybody could swim in there and without jeopardizing their own lives with the boat traffic in there. So maybe we'll have an opportunity to clear several things up. And in the meantime, Zach may be reaching out to some of us. We can revisit the kayak racks and see if we can't come up with a solution that satisfies most of us.
Sounds good. Anybody have anything to add to that, or?
July 13th sounds good.
All right. It's on the calendar. Let's see. So shall we move on to scalp comment letter?
Let's do it.
Okay.
Francis, this is Rick. I think the letter is a pretty good representation of the different points of views that have been brought forth in the discussion. And I think it looks really good. Thank you.
Chris, did you send a letter out?
Yes, I did.
You did, okay.
Sent it out about 3:30 this afternoon. Sorry I couldn't get it out sooner, but
All right, let me
it wasn't 5 o'clock
I'll
anyway.
have a quick look at it.
Anybody else have any comments?
Yeah, Chris, the letter was great.
Thanks, Bill. I appreciate it. Put some time into it today, and I took notes on everybody's emails. Thanks everybody for getting your comments in on yesterday afternoon. I received all 9 of you your comments, and I really went through each and every one of them with a red pen and made sure that we took into account everybody's comments. And whenever we saw that there was a real general consensus, that's what you'll see in the first 4 or 5 points there. And then whenever there were some dissenting opinions, those were brought to light as well. And then at the end, you'll see just sort of a list of 5 or 6 different points that were made, but maybe not necessarily made by everybody, but worth mentioning and worth considering for Suffolk County, and gave them the deference to make those judgments on their own, but brought the points up. So I'm pretty happy with it, and I hope that you guys are as well. And I'm not sure if you need some more time to review it, but it sounds like we do need to get it in the next couple days here.
I called you earlier, as you know, and I read it thoroughly, and I think you did an excellent job covering every aspect of, I'm sure, of everybody's comments and suggestions. But thank you so much. It was a big job.
Thank you. Thanks,
Yeah.
Susan.
Yeah, I feel the same way. Chris, I sent you a quick note. I thought it was great. So I completely in agreement.
Chris, thanks.
Thanks, Jim.
Anybody else have a comment on this?
I'm just looking at it now for the first time, but thank you for your work, Chris. It looks good. I'm gazing through it and I'm looking at the top line of each point. Thank you.
Well,
Thanks, Mike.
Hey, Chris, guys, that all said, can Chris forward this on to the scalp committee?
I'm good.
Yes.
All right.
What's the
Yep, definitely.
what's the scout committee?
I don't know, the scalp committee, scalp,
The county?
not
You mean
us,
The county.
The
the
county?
county.
County.
I haven't read it yet.
Okay.
John, when does it need, what's our deadline? 29th, 28th?
29.
All right,
I mean,
well,
Well,
I
with
think-
everyone seems to be in agreement, we have a majority for it.
I think everybody, I don't know, I haven't read it at all. I have no idea what it says.
I think John should have the opportunity to read it before we send it, or, the deadline. He is, after all, the liaison to Scalp.
And we're gonna meet Thursday, we could, pass it formally then.
that's fine with me, John. I'd like for you to have the opportunity to read as well. Thursday is the 25th. Give you guys a few days to comment, and yeah, we could talk about it on Thursday. That's fine with me.
Okay, John, can I ask that you address your comments on this to the full board so that we all can take a look at it?
What do you mean?
No, if you're going to make comments on the letter, please address it to the full board, as opposed to just send it off to Chris.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
I mean, we're interested in knowing what you have to say about it. You've done a lot of work on this.
John, I put your name in there. I gave you a good shout out, so you might like that.
Okay. No, I just haven't even seen it. I just got home.
Yeah, sorry guys. I know it was later this afternoon. I got it out around 3:30, but it did the best we could here. So that's totally fine. Give it a few more days, and we'll discuss it on Thursday.
What was the idea? Were we supposed to read it and then make comments back to you, or were we just supposed to read it and then decide if we wanted to sign on to it or not sign on? Vote on it.
I was interested in taking both of those ideas, John. If people thought there was a few points that maybe weren't clear or inaccurate, I'm happy to doctor it up a little bit. But ultimately, as far as the overall letter and the general intent, I would like for everybody to kind of either agree or disagree.
Well, doesn't that? I mean, if Francis, you want the board to see my comments, shouldn't the board see anybody's comments that responds back to Chris?
But they just did. They just commented now.
Okay.
Right.
I mean,
we got somebody on hold here.
Why, let's not complicate this. Come on.
No, I'm not complicating it, but I think John should at least let us know how he feels about it. And
I agree.
He hasn't read it yet.
No, I understand that, Francis. But
Okay.
John's asking questions like we've never deliberated on something as a board before. I don't understand his comment.
He hasn't commented yet.
Okay.
All right, let's move on.
We have somebody waiting. We have a caller.
Francis, do you want to take this caller, or are we past this? It's not the same person. It's somebody different.
Okay.
You want to do it?
Yes.
Okay, 1 second, please.
It's like a radio show.
Caller, you are alive.
Hello, who are we speaking to? Hello? Caller?
This is Kurt Shade. I'm just listening in because LTV is not working. So this is the only way to hear what is being discussed. I have no comments.
Oh, okay. Thanks, Kurt.
If I may say something, Curtis, this is LTV. If you can go to the YouTube page, go to the LTV page, you can actually hear it from there. Or if you have Facebook, you can do it from Facebook also. I'm not sure what the other technical problem is right now.
Or just channel 22 on Opt Online seems to be working fine.
Yes. Okay, Francis. Francis
is muted.
Okay, no more callers.
All right, we'll move on to committee reports. Accabonac Hog Creek. ZBA hearing for Abellis, owner of 91 Girard Drive, Suffolk County Tax Map 300-41-02-05, an application to demolish an existing house and construct a new house on a waterfront parcel.
Yes, Francis, I did speak to the agent on this property, and since we last weighed in on it, they have made a couple of modifications and have, I think, created a more responsible project. It's a smaller house. I think it's around 950 square feet, and they are putting in a new septic system. They do have to get some setbacks, but overall, it's a pretty big, net win, I think, environmentally speaking. So I was going to recommend to the board that we revise our previous comment, be a little softer, maybe a little bit more supportive. I'd like to work with trustee attorney to craft that comment and try and move this along. The applicant has been in the queue for quite a while. Thank you.
So you're making a motion?
I would make a motion to modify the letter to soften the content and agree with the town planner.
Okay. Anyone want a second?
I'll second it.
Jim, what you on?
It doesn't.
You're going to say something?
No, I was just going to second it. That's all. It's all.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Aquaculture, the mosquito larvae survey.
Okay. John, you want to go first on this, and then I want to follow up with some photographs from today. I'm actually documenting the harbor for Dr. Nicole Mayer so that she can see the changes.
Oh, go ahead, Susan. I think we all saw the same thing.
Sorry?
Go ahead. I think we all saw the same thing out there.
Oh, okay. Well, this is our polygon is 138, 139. We start out at 139 and we end at 138. And in the past, we have predominantly had 2 hot spots. And that's where we have found the most mosquito. Today, Edwina Von Gall and I found no mosquito larvae in our polygons, which is quite unusual because this is the 3rd summer we're doing this. And then the last 2 summers, we always had an abundance in these hotspots and a few other little areas, but this is incredible. The salt marsh is fairly dried out, so I will go to sharing my page, and I do that by pulling down, or what is this? Where do I do that? Sharing page.
Share screen at the bottom of the.
At the bottom of, share screen. Okay, there you
Damn,
go.
Joe, you beat me to it.
Okay, thank you. All right, so let's see. I guess it is, well, I'll just pop through these. How's that to make it easier? Can everybody see this? Everyone see this? Yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So the top pictures, I'm sorry for the redundancy, but that's Edwina. This is one of our major hotspots. And as you can see, tire tracks are here. It started to grow in and it looks much better than it used to, which was filled with water. So the natural growth is very important, but this is a lawnmower that is being used to mow the pathway from the house down. And they do have a legal right to do that. They were grandfathered in before the zoning code changed. But we are hoping to educate people about this, to not, if you have these gullies, this is drawing the mosquitoes. So this is one of the hot spots. To the right, you'll see the dark tire. This is new. This gouging by what we believe is a lawnmower that someone is riding on. And then you have this picture here. I don't know if you can see, I'm circling it. That's also part of the property. So traveling along, this is where I was trying to describe to Zach, this is where this path begins that is mowed down completely. And this is the area in here where we would go in to get some shade and have a sip of water. So if you go down to this picture, you'll see the mowing debris is left on the marsh. And Edwina has expressed concern over that because it's really hurting the marsh. Pictures in between are showing water that's being retained. A lot of the natural indigenous plantings have been dying off. Over to the right, where you see the glacial stone, that is again part of this pathway I was talking about with Zach. And then the pictures down below. This is really a very long pathway that hugs the plantings, the natural plantings that are in the wooded area. And it is concerning to us because it shouldn't be being done. It's cutting through, as you can see, the swath of all the natural plantings. This picture at the end that looks like a nest, that's the end of this pathway. And Edwina and I discovered it today. We think an animal lives in it, that it was made. It's very interesting, and it's very deep hole inside. A lot of the grasses you can see in this picture to the right, all the way down below, they are dying just from natural causes. And then here is the glacial stone out in the water. So we are entering polygon 138, and the orange, this is a marker with the glacial stone. Further along, this is an area that we cross over, and it looks as though it should be a place that we would find mosquito larvae, but we don't. Instead, here is what the old hotspot looked like, all this gray, dead area. Further down, this white patch here are dead fish. This is the last body of water that was left in this dried out, what used to be our second hotspot. So it's extremely dry. Again, here's the same hotspot, all dead, and more of the same down here. When we got down to Edwina's home, that's where we end our polygon, it becomes very flooded, and much more so than it has been in years past. And I've photographed the houses to remember where these spots are in the marsh. But it becomes extremely wet and a lot of dead grasses as a result of really the marsh is becoming very sad looking. And so I just go along. Oh, yes, here we have Edwina with the Mylar balloons. We did find those. And so did Mike. Thank you, Mike. I posted that, another Mylar balloons. If people are listening, please don't use Mylar balloons or latex balloons. So we'll go down here. This is, this was an actual pond. To the left of the screen, I have two of the same pictures of it. This was a pond that had a lot of green algae in it, and it never had any mosquito larvae whatsoever. Now it's completely dry, but contiguous to it is a very deep body of water with no mosquito larvae whatsoever. And then we move across, and this is an osprey nest in front of Edwina's to the harbor. And here we are very close to Edwina's home, but we also have some die-off of the natural plantings on the border of her property. And this is the back of her property out to Accabonac Harbor. So it's pretty, it's changed quite a bit from the last 2 years, and not for the better. So I have sent these pictures on to Dr. Nicole Mayer, who's asked me to keep track of things by photograph so she can see how it's changed, and also to Tom Iwaneko, Suffolk County Vector. Below are plantings that they have some sort of disease that's on Edwina's property, and we want to find out what that is, because that's, we believe, the cause of these plants perishing. And that is it for the photo program of the evening. And I can unshare this, yes.
I'll just
Oh,
say,
sorry. Okay. Sharing is paused. Stop share. There we go.
I'll just say we've seen similar fans forming in south of where Susan checks, all along the marsh, and a lot of them seem to have formed in earnest since last year. But we did see some today that seem to be getting some new growth, and but I do see it's not a good sign.
John, is there any way for you to adjust your sound, because your your audio is coming across as not very clear?
I'll try. How's that?
That's better. Much better. So our next surveying will be in 2 weeks. And this week, Tom wrote back and said that based on what his crew has seen and what our reports are, he will probably not be treating the marsh this week. So that I shared that news with Accabono Protection Committee.
Okay, thank you, Susan. Anybody have any questions?
No, thank you. It's great work.
All right.
Thanks, Tim.
Nice. So we'll go on to beaches. We have a request to close out trustee permit B number 10 through 19 issued to 85 West End Road, LLC, Suffolk County Tax Map 301-15-5-14.1 for restoration of the dune fronting the ocean. Any comments on that?
Yeah, both of these projects, keep in mind, were done at the end of March. They were done quite some time ago. One of them, Rayner, was done. Then there was some considerable amount of erosion there. They went back in just before the close of the season when they could do the work there. They completed the work, and I think the time delay in getting the closeout documents to was probably more related to COVID issues and where they were with their office. But I've been by both of these properties. Susan, I think you had gone by as well. Mm-hmm. They're done, and last time I was down there, they were holding up pretty good.
The pictures look great, so if you'd like to make a motion to close it out, I'll second it.
I'll make a motion to close them out.
And I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay. So the second one was for 93 West End Road, is that correct, Jim?
Yeah, Pond House.
Yes, okay.
Yeah, and I think that was what, a Billy Mack project?
I believe so, yes.
Yeah. Both of these were done a bit earlier. They sustained some damage and they had to go back in and do some other work.
Actually, yeah, the InterScience was the agent.
Okay, then it's not.
All right, harbor management. We have an application received for the dredging of Little Northwest Creek from Drew Bennett. So my understanding is this is going to be a trustee project. Is that correct?
It's the trustees are procuring the permits. I think we've had some discussion as to who's going to handle the oversight and finances on this, and I believe it's going to fall on us, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, we are going to be working on a state grant in the coming 6 months, working with Fred Thiel and Sag Harbor Village to procure this grant. And that process is just getting started.
Okay. You want to talk about it at all? What the project is?
We can. I mean, I think we've had this discussion in the past. We were engaged by some of the homeowners associations down there in Nineveh, Sag Harbor Hills, and the end of last season, regarding the problem that they have down there in that Little Northwest Creek has so wandered to the north and west, it's basically erased a lot of their beachfront. And second to that, what really prompted this was the DEC closed the area for shell fishing. We got together, Rick and I got together with the homeowners groups. We discussed with them and as well as Fred Thiel and Bridget Fleming attended some of the meetings along with the mayor of Sag Harbor. And it actually worked out pretty well, put together a good team. The homeowner community, or one of the members of the homeowner community, actually came up with the money to pay Drew Bennett to do the engineering and permitting on this job. The stage that we're with right now is Army Corps is all settled. We are still waiting for DEC. Town of East Hampton is it's an interagency deal with them. And we're waiting for DEC. Now, what I have heard from is I actually have heard from some people in Sag Harbor regarding the potential of Eastern terrapin overwintering sites, which I don't expect that we're going to find them in the area where the proposed dredging is going to occur, because typically the turtles like muddy bottom to overwinter in, and the areas that we'd be dredging are the sort of shoal areas that are constantly being disturbed. But it was actually nice to have a member of the public reach out, contact you, and show some very educated concern about what was going on down there. And what we found out in that conversation is we had the Mike Bettini talk here a month or so ago about the diamondback terrapins, where they breed, where they, how to kind of protect the nesting sites. And apparently there are some very good nesting sites that are well documented along Northwest Creek. So post dredging, I'm looking forward to possibly having the opportunity to engage with perhaps SOFO or members of the community to get down, identify nests, and try and protect them. So, but we're on hold with DEC right now.
That sounds like a great program coming up. And as long as we're on the terrapins, I'd like to mention again that we are, the trustees, have the TEDs, the terrapin excluder devices. They're free of charge. They're courtesy of CTUC. And if anyone wants to come to the trustee's office, we have the tags that secure them, and they are free. And we'd love you to come and pick one up for yourself as a fisherman.
Susan, is that mandatory now?
I believe, if I'm not mistaken, it is for commercial fishermen, but not for private fishing. But it still would be nice if if
and
everybody.
Are recreational crab potters allowed to come and receive these as well?
Yeah, anyone, because it's to save the turtles. Give them, otherwise they drown. So if you want to, want one, come on in and get them, or tell your friends about it. I've tried to reach out to various different fisheries groups and Facebook page organizations that are local and try to spread the word. So yeah, come on in and get one.
Hey, Susan.
Yes.
Could we put some in the ship stores at the marinas and give them out?
Absolutely.
You want to drop them off sometime? I'd love to try to do that and put some signs up to educate people.
Absolutely. We have a poster that John Turner gave me. In fact, I was lucky enough to go out on Acquabonic Harbor with him. I had never seen a terrapin before, and we spent the whole afternoon looking for terrapins and birds. Do you want me to bring them to the shop, or do you want to pick them up?
Yeah, if you want to stop by, it'd be nice to see you.
Okay.
Okay.
I will do that.
All right, that's great. I did see one in the northeast creeks of 3 Mile Harbor. I usually don't see too many up there.
Oh, okay.
Well, actually,
there were 5 of them in Acquabonic Harbor that I saw.
Yeah, that's prime.
Yeah, if you take and ride down Girard Drive on a high tide, you'll usually see them. There's a couple little open areas, like little pond areas.
Mm-hmm.
You'll usually see 2 or 3 of them at that end, right along Girard Drive. You don't even have to get out of your car.
That's exactly where we saw them, Jim. It was great. So now I'm carrying my binoculars.
Hey, Jim, I just wanted to go back to Little Northwest Creek real quick. I was on that body of water for a couple hours today, and at high tide, made it all the way to the back. And if you look at the map, I was trying to enter that zone from Barcelona to Neck, which is the road on the way to the golf course. So I had to go back around and come through the via water. And that might be a great spot for the eastern box turtle. And when you get to low tide, and you could probably
you're not gonna find box turtles in an intertidal zone. It's not their gig.
Okay.
You might find the diamondback terrapins, and there is the possibility you might find mud turtle back there and spotted turtle, but what do you call it? Box turtles. Box turtles kind of like it high and dry. And
More
what they're
dry.
doing right now is they're looking for sites to nest, and they're not going to lay their eggs where they could potentially become inundated.
Fair enough. So I think the mud turtle might be back in there.
Well, if it is, it'd be great because there's really no documented sightings of mud turtle out here other than Robbins Island, I believe. So I know SOFO was looking to do a little exploratory work there, and it'd be kind of exciting if they do find mud turtle because nobody's said anything that they found any. So.
Oh, which brings me to signs. I ordered some more signs. I want to thank Susan Stadler, Mike Martinson, John Aldrich for coming out and putting the turtle crossing signs up. I got SOFO, Frank Covedo, to give me the locations that he felt were the best for the turtle crossings. And the turtle was a little small, so I enlarged it. But I'll have more at the office, another 25. So if anybody just wants to grab some and put them up, Frank advised at least a mile apart, but wherever you see preserved signs, that's usually where the turtles will cross. And I'm hoping that we have enough left over so that we can do something next year. Now, Jim, you're able to get some nice metal signs, I hear.
We are. And what I hope to do is have Steve Lynch put those up, but it's going to be a little while before we get them. And I thank you for doing what you did because it was timely. And it's pretty good. Like the snapping turtles have been laying their eggs, and we were working at a project on Georgia this past week, and we actually have two little exclosures over two nests for the snapping turtles that had, two individuals came in and laid their eggs.
Wow. This is a box turtle, right? Mike? I'm sorry. That's great. I stepped on one by mistake last year in the marsh, and I thought it was a rock, and that's exactly what it looked like.
Since we were on the subject of turtles, I thought I would share it. You who was on the walk, but it was a box turtle on the north side of the intertidal today. So it could happen that a box turtle could be in the marsh. We found one today.
Yeah. And last year I stepped on it, I thought it was a rock, and then said, oh my goodness, look. So thank you for this picture. I'll put it up.
Can we put signs in Montauk, or is that?
No, definitely. Yes. I will have them. It should be by the end of this week they'll be arriving. So yeah, as soon as they come, I'll let you know.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
All right. Anything else on turtles?
Turtlenecks.
All right. Napeag Lazy Point. We have a ZBA hearing for Batter, owners of lots 8N and 9N at Lazy Point, 272 Shore Road, Suffolk County Tax Map 300-084-5-03.1. Application to repair and allow an existing 740 square foot deck, 66-foot retaining wall to remain, and to repair a 64 square foot shed on the waterfront parcel. Any comments on that?
Well, this was a property that these guys came to us actually in 2017, notifying us that they were hoping to do this project. It kind of demonstrates how long you can be in the queue before you actually have your day before the ZBA. I did speak to the owner or the tenant. The ZBA hearing went pretty well. It's going to be about 6 weeks before he gets the determination. And if anybody doesn't know, we don't issue permits for things like this. What we do is we basically issue a memo that describes the activity proposed as being the landlords. We don't have a problem with it. So what we would typically do is wait for that ZBA determination, receive a copy of that, from the town or from the homeowner. And we would just send a memo over to the building department referring to the ZBA determination that we had no problem with it and the conditions held within. And that's the end of it. So this is one that we should probably table until such time that we get the ZBA determination. And they do need, because of the proximity to the bay, they do either need a letter of non-jurisdiction or DEC permit on this as well.
I watched the ZBA meeting just so I could bring myself up to speed on it, and I just wanted to say that John Whalen said that he would like work with the engineer and architect on this. He suggested auger down post, which I didn't know what it was. I didn't find out.
Yeah, what that is the timber crib wall that's presently on this property that kind of retains the dune, has some dead men returns that go about 4 feet back into the dune. And the concern of the ZBA board is, one, this retaining wall isn't very tall to begin with. And rather than replace the wall in the fashion that they did, they can avoid digging into the dune. They can just do a post and basically treat the timber wall as like a whaler behind the post. That's all this is. What it does do, the ramification to that is it's going to make this deck maybe 6 inches smaller on the 2 sides that retaining wall's on, which the applicant agreed to. And that's probably going to change the dimension of their shed slightly. If they're doing a prefab shed, they may end up, Chris Vatter and I talked, they may end up coming back and saying, listen, we may want to reconfigure the shed to get the same square footage yield on it, but not have this 8x8 square. It may be 8 by 7'6" by a little bit longer. And I didn't see that as a problem. Apparently that was an issue raised with the planner as well, and the planner expressed the same thing. It all falls in the footprint of that pre-existing deck and pre-existing shed anyway.
All right, I'm going to add just a couple of other things since I wrote them down. That John is looking for a construction protocol and revegetation plan for any damage done to the dune. And I think the date for the next, they were going to have a meeting again on the 14th of July, but then they have to leave 2 weeks open for public comment. And so I think the final meeting will be July 28th on this. But we have everything that we need in our office.
All right, but again, my suggestion is that we table this till such time as we've received the ZBA determination on this.
Of course.
Okay. Move on to Roads Committee. General update, access and inappropriate use of trustee property.
Yes, thank you, Francis. I think the Roads Committee has an opportunity ahead to, possibly realize some cooperation with other boards like we saw tonight with Zach. It was great to have him on the call. Rick Whalen has been a great person to work with also, so I hope we can continue to have those discussions. The issues like Town Line Road, that property is bordered by East Hampton Town Reserve, Southampton Town Reserve. There may even be some county property in there. And our road is providing the access in there for responsible use and irresponsible use. So, one of the ideas was to gate the unpaved road with a combination lock given to first responders. And that's just a pretty big lift. I did speak to members of the highway department, and they really don't have bandwidth to help us with projects or maintenance. And, these roads, squarely fall within our responsibility. So this could minimize illegal dumping, illegal use, errant four-wheel driving, etc. The cost of a basic driveway/road gate is probably about $1,000, and I would say installation is probably another $500 to $750. So that's something I would like everyone to consider. Maybe we can talk about it further at the next meeting. The other point with the Grace Estate, I am going to speak with Zach and Rick and also talk about the other properties, but locks on the existing gates there, are probably in the $75 range. We have a lot of off-cut tree debris on Old Sag Harbor Road. The highway department could possibly help, but it would take a town board resolution. Right now, the road is, I would say unsafe because the shoulder is now fallen logs, so there's really no shoulder on the road. If we get snow in the winter, you couldn't really plow it properly. And, it's not right for someone just to deposit the off-cut of their project on trustee property. So that's something that we need to talk about further. Please think about it. It's either an expensive project for the trustees to undertake to make the road safe, or possible cooperation with the town board or other agencies. Those are the main issues that I think we should focus on from the roads committee. And I might draft a resolution for the next meeting. I'll try and send it around this week for trying to accomplish a couple of these projects, and also speak with Zach and Rick. So that's the update for this meeting. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Rick. The last thing we have under roads is the underground electric easement agreements with LIPA. Anybody have a chance to look at that?
I have.
Yeah, I have.
You want to have a discussion?
I don't, well, we've been dealing, Francis, you and I have been dealing with this for a while. It seemed very much in line with the previous drafts and that, and I would actually make a motion that we approve it.
I would second that.
Anybody else?
It seems to be a really good,
Okay, now, just so everyone's aware, these roads are near the airport. There are now existing towers on those properties, of which there are easements already in place. And what they're looking to do is bury the line underground. And that's requiring a second easement. Okay.
And this is to improve our electric.
Well, I think that's what the deal is this is to actually add to the transmission capacity here.
And add resiliency for our community.
It's in response to Sandy and the upgrades that they want to do. Mm-hmm. So we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I think, guys, I think what we should do on these votes, being that we're doing this, is do a roll call vote.
Okay. I agree. Arlene?
Yep. John, roll call for the LIPA vote.
Yes.
Easements, A and B. John Aldred. Francis, John? Okay, it's hard for me to hear too. Thank you. Francis Baugh?
Yes.
Ken Dollinger?
Aye.
Rick Drew?
Aye.
Tim Garneau?
Aye.
Jim Grimes?
Yes.
Mike Martinson?
Aye.
Susan McGraw-Keever?
Aye.
And Bill Taylor?
Yes.
Excellent. The vote is reflected. Thank you.
Thank you. Move on to administrative. We have payment of the bills. Montauk Marine Basin, $802. Riverhead Building Supply, $98.09. I believe that's for the kayak racks. Seacoast Enterprises Associates, $849.25. And we also have Turtle Signs, $296.16 for 25 signs.
I make a motion to pay the bills.
Second.
In favor?
Aye.
Aye.
You want to do roll call again?
Well, if you'd like, but
I think we all want to pay the bills. You have no minutes this, Bill?
I was just going to say, you could also ask if anybody opposed.
You're breaking up.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was just saying, instead of calling a roll, you could probably ask if there's anybody that's in opposition.
All right. Anyone in opposition? No. All right, we have no minutes this month. We have a renewal for a certificate of deposit and in numbers 7248. Do I have a motion to renew?
I'd like to make a motion to renew.
I'll
Second.
second.
All in favor? Anyone opposed? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And we have a financial report for the month ended April 30th. Anybody have a chance to look at it?
I did. We're ahead. We're ahead of last year by a bit. So I think part of that is Arlene's been far more disciplined about trying to collect money, fees on docs and that. And thank you, Arlene.
Good job, Arlene.
Okay. You want to make a motion, Jim?
I'd like to make a motion to accept the financials as shown.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? No. Okay, we also have one for May 31st.
Well, that's the one I was looking at.
Oh. Well, we should approve the one before that first.
I'm sorry, I didn't realize.
Francis, I've usually been looking at these, but I didn't have a chance. It's been a busy launch season at the marina, so I should be able to get caught up for the next meeting if anything's still hanging out.
All right, so you want to table April 30th?
I would, unless Jim's read them.
No, I was talking about May. I was talking about the May one. I wasn't paying attention. Sorry, guys.
Okay, no problem. All right, does anybody have anything else they want to discuss?
So are we tabling April or May?
Tabling April, we've accepted May.
Okay.
I have to bring something up. Just a question for the board. As far as trustee, let's say, border and what our control in Montauk? Anything that we have, do we have anything to do with any beaches in Montauk at all? For instance, benches at Ditch Plains Beach.
Hey,
Nada.
Mike, Montauk was, the trustees owned all of Montauk, beaches in the interior lands. We sold them. Okay, we sold them quite some time ago. What you're doing is just bringing up a dark day in the history of the trustees. I want to thank you for doing that. Make us all feel bad for the rest of the evening. But no,
but Jim, there is one thought there that the intertidal zone may not have been sold. So
yeah,
that is a theory that is still
it's a theory.
floating out there.
Okay, so the reason why I bring this up is some friends of mine that are surfers that spend a lot of time at Ditch Plains Beach said they spoke to Jim Grimes, who said that from the parking lot to the ocean is trustees.
No.
And they want me to get their bench back because the town took the bench away, maybe for COVID precaution. And they're hoping that I can help them get their bench back. I said, no, that's out of my hands. Right? Am I correct?
Nobody ever asked me about a bench at Ditch Plains.
Okay, I put it on the record on TV for Mr. Mike. I don't know his last name at Ditch Plains Beach.
Okay, but
okay, thanks, Jim.
Yeah,
it's out of our hands.
Okay. Anything else?
Yeah, I'd just like to mention something. I was talking to Ann Welker, Southampton trustee, last week, and she brought up an interesting thing. I thought they've been having problems with blue-green algae and mecox and sag ponds, and she's been talking to a consultant from, I believe, a company in Midwest somewhere. But this company has worked with towns on Cape Cod to get incidental take permits from Fish and Wildlife Service for opening their ponds for similar reasons to water quality purposes. And apparently, Fish and Wildlife is much more responsive to these kinds of requests if they're made by multiple municipalities. So I think Southampton is interested in perhaps talking to us about perhaps going together, maybe looking into hiring consultants to deal with Fish and Wildlife to get incidental take permits from Fish and Wildlife so that we have more flexibility in opening ponds out of season.
Hey, John, we actually that subject was broached a couple of years ago when Bill and Francis and I went into.
Yeah, Francis told me about it.
Went into the DEC, but we never really did anything with it subsequent to that. I think it's a great idea. And, listen, it'd be another tool in the toolbox.
Right, I agree. So I just wanted to pass that along. We had that conversation, and I think they're interested in talking to us, and I think we should probably
maybe what we could do is set up some sort of a face-to-face with a couple of members of their board, and then try and move this one to our general board and actually to a face-to-face, hopefully, and not a Zoom meeting with DEC.
Well, we may only be a few weeks.
You went out.
Muted.
You're muted, Francis.
Oh, hi. What I said was we're maybe only a couple weeks away from phase 4, so that meeting may be possible.
Okay, well, that'd be good.
Anybody else?
Francis, have you had any more?
Yes.
Have you heard anything more from Southampton about getting together, 2 boards or 3 boards?
No, everybody's been underground. I'm sure once things loosen up that we'll get back to that.
Oh, I have one last thing to say before we leave. There is a clam pie in our refrigerator at our office. Paul Roman has been experimenting. He's going to be making our clam chowder for the, if we have it, for the biggest clam contest. So I was there today and said hello to him. He brought his clam pie in. So if anybody wants clam pie, we have to put it in the oven and bake it. But it's there for you, for us to sample. Thank you, Paul.
Motion to close.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
Aye.
No? Okay.
Good night, everyone.
Aye.
Good night.